Hello lovely Pisces, and welcome to the 2026 horoscope. So this is going to be another impactful year for you. 2025 was really important. We had the North Node in Pisces, we had eclipses in your sign, and it might have felt like, oh God, here we go again. Venus retrograde in and out as well. This year is going to still be a little bit dicey, I'm not going to lie, but after this year, everything will get better. So it kind of feels like one last push and then we get through it. Doesn't mean it's a bad year by any means, just kind of transformative. Don't click off yet though, because there's still some really good things for this year as well. So I'm going to talk about the key themes for the year, a reflection on 2025. I'm going to talk about the most important 2026 transits, take you through the months in a small breakdown, and then I'm also going to talk about the change of nodes. And you'll have to forgive me because I'm not going to be super in depth with this video because I just don't want it to be too long. I think it can be really boring sometimes when it's like an hour plus as well. I used to do videos like that and I don't think people enjoyed them as much, like the watch time was not brilliant. And I just want to keep the themes all concentrated. I'm also going to talk about the eclipses as well. So that's going to be eclipses in Pisces and Virgo and Aquarius and Leo. But also, if you're really into this and you want to know what's going to come for the year, you want to get the advantage, then I am selling a PDF on my website, which is the best strategic aspects for the year based on money, self-development and career and expression, love, travel, hobbies, more of the like pleasurable things, and then also take you through every single full and new moon, including the eclipses, how it will impact you, the themes, and how it harkens back to the past moon as well. And I have a PhD in strategic advantage, so I handpick all the aspects based on my astrological knowledge and how I think it's going to give you advantage in certain areas. And I also think like it's just quite fun. Like before I started doing all this, I used to love stuff like this because it's really fun. Actually, my dad would buy me like a moonology book every Christmas, and I'm a Pisces moon, and I used to have so much fun just going through it with him and being like, oh, I'm really excited. So even if it's, even if you're not really interested in all the opportunities, it can just be like a fun little thing to flick through. And I've also tried to keep it pretty cheap, like I do with all my work, so it can be as accessible as possible. So anyway, pushing all that aside, let's go on with the horoscope. So the key themes for you this year at Pisces is going to be a rumination on your self-worth and money with Chiron in Aries. Chiron has been in Aries for a few years now, but it will actually move into Taurus, where it will hit your house of communication, siblings, productivity and purpose, and also speaking your truth, so the third house. And why this is interesting is because Chiron is the wounded healer. It's the asteroid of trauma, so it really brings some triggers and allows you to work through issues. Again, look for your natal Chiron in your chart as well, because you can kind of combine them and see how a transiting Chiron and a natal Chiron can combine and what you really need to work on. You also have sudden changes with projects and short trips and family and home environment, and perhaps even moving, with Uranus moving in and out of Taurus and Gemini. You also have an expansion of creativity, luck with dating, starting a family, but also a bit more risk with Jupiter being in Cancer for the first half of the year still. So if you are wanting to expand a family or have more luck with casual dating, then this is really nice. And the second half of the year is also an expansion of physical health, so muscle growth and doing well in the gym, but it can also give you more colleagues. It allows you to help more people. So I really started to help more people when Jupiter was in my 6th house, and it also opens you up to a bit more injury, like I had a lot more problems in my back. Jupiter will expand whatever house it's in, so it can bring abundance as a benefic planet, but it will expand. So if you have certain dicey planets in a natal chart in the 6th house, look to see what Jupiter might be expanding as well. This is why it's really important with these general horoscopes to look at your birth chart, because sometimes people are like, you told me that Jupiter in Cancer was going to be fantastic for me, and I'm like, girl, Jupiter's right next to your Chiron and your Mars, and you've got a day chart. How is this my fault? So remember to look for it again. And I say this as someone who has a natal Jupiter expanding both my Mars in Sag and my Chiron. So in the 12th house. So I know what Jupiter can do. And again, I'm a Sag, so Jupiter should be giving me all this luck. Has it? You're damn skippy. It's been very, sprinkle bit of here, sprinkle bit of there. Lucky girl syndrome, maybe not, it hasn't felt like it, but then maybe it's because I'm Saturn ruled as a Capricorn rising. It's all this nuance. Anyway, this does not affect you, but I just thought it's interesting to put it out there. Jupiter moved from Cancer to Leo. You'll also be aligning with your spiritual purpose and more of a karmic cycle and moving towards who you need to be, because the North Node will actually leave your sign Pisces and move into Aquarius. So the node is not hitting your first house anymore. And so you also will not have the South Node in your 7th house of committed relationships. Instead, it goes into your 6th house. So you're releasing issues with stretching yourself too thin, issues with physical health, having to work in groups, or maybe having to put your needs aside for others and having to find a balance. The issue with the 12th and the 6th house is they're the most self-sacrificial martyr kind of houses. So you will deal with what you have to do for other people, unfortunately. The 12th house that the North Node will move in is a bit more about what I want to do spiritually for myself. But again, it's the most self-sacrificial house. As we get to the 6th house and we go up to the northern horizon, we deal with people more. And so then we really I'm serving. If you think of the 6th house as being I'm going to really help somebody, in a hospital, and then the 12th house being I'm going to help someone in an asylum, these two together, it's wow, physical and mental health really needs sorting out here. Again, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. The nodes are just a direction of travel for your spiritual purpose, really. Or purpose is a very vague word, I think, but I'm going to call it a spiritual direction of travel. Let's call it that. Then you'll also be aligning with identity in the final level up when we have a eclipse in your sign, and then rebalancing love, justice and commitments with a eclipse in Virgo. And these are recurring themes from 2025. So this is the last remix where we really deal with these, and I think it's going to be the ultimate letting go for you. And then you can level up and sort of be free. It's be free. You're a snake shedding its skin. And I think you, Virgo, Aquarius, Leo, and potentially Taurus are having those, actually Aries as well, having those real releases. So you're not on your own, Pisces. Again, I got a Pisces moon as well, so I'm speaking with ultimate sensitivity here, and a Saturn in Pisces too. So the most important 2026 transits I've just touched upon, but I'll just read them out for you. Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house and Gemini in the 4th, Chiron and Aries in the 2nd and Taurus in the 3rd, lunar eclipse in Virgo in the 7th and Pisces 1st, North Node in Aquarius in the 12th and South Node in Leo in the 6th, moving out of Virgo, Jupiter in Cancer 5th and moving into Leo in the 6th. And of course, eclipses in both Virgo and Pisces and Aquarius and Leo. So a reflection on 2025, which some of you might be happy to see the back end of. North Node in Pisces 1st, South Node in Virgo 7th, as I mentioned. But Neptune actually moved into Aries for the first time in 100 plus years, 30th of March in the 2nd house. And this is really important because Neptune is a generational planet, so it affects everybody, especially externally. But in Aries, it's very angry and foggy mixed together. So Neptune in Pisces, for example, where it being your 1st house, is much easier because it's more of a domicile placement. So Neptune's dreamy, it's collective consciousness, it's fantasy, and Pisces loves to dream. So when Pisces loves to dream in that particular planet, it just feels more creative and exciting. It can put a bit of fog onto your identity and goals, and you might be like, where's the clarity? But when it moves into Aries, it feels like Aries can't see the mirror, so it punches it instead and then cracks the mirror, and it's oh, I shouldn't have done that. In the 2nd house, that can lead you in your pursuit of stability to do things that are reckless. It can also it can also make you settle for things that you don't want to settle for purely because you think stability is what you should have. It can also make you focus on clarity with your self-worth and self-esteem. But again, I would always say with this particular energy, and also Saturn in Aries, 30th of May, which brings some constriction, a lot of gaslighting energy and attracting narcissistic energy too. Jupiter then moved into Cancer June the 9th in the 5th house, bringing some expansion to creativity, to interesting projects. Also, it can open you up to more risk as well, which can be either a good or bad thing if you need to jump out your comfort zone. But again, it can invite risky behavior and risky people, red flag energy, great for dating and expanding a family too. Then Uranus moved into Gemini from Taurus, July the 7th, 3rd and 4th house, bringing some shock and volatility to communication projects, but also innovating projects, and then also changing things in the home. So maybe some of you actually moved, or you've had a really big desire to move. I know quite a few people with Uranus in the 4th that didn't actually want to move, but their husband cheated on them, and then they were like, I have to move. Uranus, yay! So that kind of energy. Okay, I'm going to go through the months really quickly. Again, I'm being quite vague because I don't want this to be a long video, and I do talk about these aspects more specifically in my PDF, and I'll also talk about them as we get to them as well. So if you don't want to look at the PDF, I will do videos on these kind of things as well. I'm hoping at the start of the year to continue doing my weekly horoscopes like I do on TikTok as well. So let's look at January. Chiron goes direct in Aries January the 2nd in that second house, and so that will bring some triggers potentially to your self-esteem. People try to test you or disrespect you, and potential issues with money. Full moon in Cancer January the 3rd in the 5th house allows you to release something. Could be with dating, could be a creative project, or just being like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And as mentioned, Neptune enters Aries. You know, new moon in Capricorn, I would say in the 11th house is really lovely for new friends. It's actually a very successful new moon. This is a good time to get out there and maybe be more social, and try to find something new, because there is quite a isolated, lonely feeling here with Aquarius. The 12th house is quite lonely. It's quite hermit energy. So that new moon in Capricorn's a bit like, I get out of the house and enjoy myself. February. Mercury in Pisces, February the 6th in your first house, allows you to communicate your ideas easily. However, Mercury is debilitating in Pisces, so I would say it's better to write things down or do things more creatively. That's what I think, outside the box. Venus in Pisces exalted in the first house, so very magnetic and attractive this month with Mercury there as well. It's very dreamy and very creative. So this is the time to be a little bit more delusional or do things that are a little bit more artistic. Saturn enters Aries in that second house as well, so you might face some constriction with finances, and just keep track of that. I'll talk about the eclipses later when I talk about all the eclipses. Venus in Pisces conjunct North Node in Pisces, February the 18th in the first house, is incredibly fated. This is really karmic, but also it's pivotal. So this is going to, I'm not going to say it's going to level up or change your identity, but it's going to be something that is so fated that you're going to be like, oh my God, I can track this specific thing in my life to this date because of the Sun in Pisces on the same day, bringing some harmony, bringing just joy with the Venus and Mercury placement as well. It's all really going to be focused on you. And I think also with that eclipse in Aquarius in the 12th house, you might be feeling a little bit more, you know, lonely or hermit-like, and then there's so much energy on you. We also have Mercury retrograde in Pisces, February the 26th in the first house. And so again, a Mercury retrograde in a debilitated sign is never easy because you're not able to communicate well. So when Mercury's in Pisces, even though it's debilitated, you're still able to communicate. When it's retrograding, it really puts a dampener on it. So I would be very careful about doing presentation during this time, or trying to admit any of your identity to someone, or try to basically sell yourself. Saturn conjunct Neptune, Aries, February the 20th in the second house. This is the ultimate creation degree. This is really pivotal for income, and I would not be surprised if you have a lightning bolt idea about how to make money. March, Mars enters Pisces, March the 2nd in the first house. Mars in Pisces I don't really love, because Pisces is a little bit too emotional for Mars. And again, every time I say that, it's not a criticism. I have a Pisces moon. It's not a criticism. I know Pisces can be full on freaking psycho as well. I say it because I know we can be psychotic. And I think sometimes with that together, it's like, oh, you have pushed me to the edge. But Mars wouldn't do very well in a water sign like that. Either way, it gives you some motivation and drive. It can make you a bit more angry. Like I said, the angry crying energy, a bit like Mars in Cancer. But ultimately, it does give you motivation. And you might need a little bit of motivation with the eclipse in your 7th house as well, because you might need to have a bit of Dutch courage, as it were. Venus moves into Aries as well in your 2nd house. So again, some harmony and help with finances, and that 2nd house, it seems to be having a hit. Venus is also conjunct Saturn and Neptune Aries as well. So not only do you have the manifestation energy on your side, but you also have the element of maturation, you know, the seriousness. Okay. Mars in Pisces conjunct North Node in Pisces, first house. Another fated energy, but not as dreamy as Venus conjunct, just because Mars is, I don't think Mars is a malefic, but it's seen as a malefic, so it's not as nice as Venus. And I still think it will give you some motivation and drive to really changing things about yourself. And then, of course, new moon in Pisces as well in your first house of self, which is just this new start. And I always love a new moon in Pisces because it's great manifestation energy. And then Mercury will also be direct in your first house too. Let's look at April. Yeah, a lot of Aries energy. Again, I'm not going to be too detailed because I'll just repeat myself. A lot of Aries energy that's good for income and really working towards that. And again, Uranus moving into Gemini at the end of the month, you might feel a little bit more like, is home where I want to be right now? May. I would say the Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries, May 16th in your second house, will not only give you motivation to really work out the triggers with your second house of self-worth, esteem, stability, finance, take what resonates here, because these are quite general. It will just be like, oh, I want to stamp this out. There's a lot of anger to this, especially in Aries. Okay. Sorry if you hear fireworks outside, by the way. It's the day, I'm filming this the day after Halloween, and I think this is also early bonfire night in the UK, which is only the 5th of November, so I think it's like a mix between the two. I actually see the fireworks outside my window, which is really beautiful, so I'm getting a little bit of a celebration here. Maybe this, because this is the only time a video I've had fireworks, maybe this is a omen of good celebrations for Pisces. Let's hope. So June, Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, June the 9th in the 5th house is just wonderful. We had this last year. This is fantastic. Jupiter needs something harmonious and benefic like Venus to really enhance its power. In the 5th house of dating, you could meet someone during this time. You could also expand a family. I don't do fertility readings, but I always say this is good for conception, and also fantastic for creativity as well. And because Venus will shortly move into Leo in the 6th house, so you won't have the joy of that. And I've mentioned this so many times that Venus rejoices in the 5th house. Okay. Yep, Jupiter enters Leo at the end of the month, yep. July, Neptune retrograde in Aries in the 2nd house. So as I mentioned, there's a little bit more of a listening to your dreams about what you really want to have with your stability in life. Venus moves into Virgo in your 7th house, bringing harmony of relationships, and also the new moon in Cancer in the 5th house. So dating and romance is quite, harmonious here. Venus in Virgo is not the best. It's very picky, but it's still in your 7th house, so you can't really do anything about that. It still will bring some harmony, which I think is really good. August, Venus enters Libra in your 8th house. Venus in Libra is a domicile placement, so it's already extra harmony times 2. But in the 8th house, it brings good look for intimacy and savings and investments as well, which you might be considering because of all the Aries energy in your 2nd house. Mars enters Cancer August 11th in your 5th house. Mars in Cancer is considered to be Mars in Cancer, August 11th in the 5th house. Mars is considered to be in its fall in Cancer because, much like Mars and Pisces, it's kind of screaming, crying, angry energy. So it makes your libido and sex drive a little bit high. It's more like frivolous and fun. But it's more like, I want to be independent, but I also want home, and I don't really know what I want, and you're torn in 2 directions. Then the Sun and Mercury enters Virgo in the 7th house, allowing you to communicate about your romantic connections. And then, of course, we have a lunar eclipse in your sign. I will talk about this in depth in a minute. September. New moon in Virgo, September 11th in your 7th house. If I remember rightly, this is a pretty successful new moon. I think it's a 9 of Pentacles new moon. Second decan. Yeah, I think it's a second decan new moon. Full moon in Aries, Mars enters Leo. Mars enters Leo in your 6th house is going to give you vitality with physical health, so you feel like more motivated. I can do anything. I can hike Mount Everest if I need to. I just feel really good. In a fire sign as well, it's like, yeah, that's nice. October. I would say with there's a Venus retrograde in Scorpio, but with a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio in the 9th house, be mindful if you book travel around this time. Obviously, if things are cheaper and it's going to work out, like, you have to live your life. I'll travel during a Mercury retrograde, but I'm telling you, it's been delayed every single time, and I've had issues. Actually, even once I lost my phone in New York, and I had to pay $500 to get a new one. And I literally remember texting my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, this is me from American number, bloody Mercury retrograde." And now he's like, "I'm a believer. I've been converted." So just be mindful of that. November. Mars enters Virgo in your 7th house, November 25th. It will bring some motivation to really committing to things. So this is when you feel more decisive, especially in Virgo, which is very analytical and wants to be decisive. However, I always say that Mars in Virgo is the strategist that tells you how to execute the war. So I actually quite like this placement. It's considered to be peregrine, which means it's neither good nor bad. It's kind of neutral. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Peregrine, peregrine, I don't know, maybe it's my accent. But Mars in Virgo is good. And in my opinion, And what I like about it is that it's going to bring a lot of vitality to romance. So libido's a little bit higher. It's like, you know, there's some spicy energy coming through for this year. December. New moon in Sagittarius, December 9th in the 10th house, which I think is fantastic because that can also be a new job or really setting your sights on a new project at work as well. If you're retired, for example, this can be expression or a new project that you would like to work on. It's interesting because my dad's retired, and I always say to him, what would you like to see when I talk about the 10th house? And he was like, well, just the little projects that I do around, you know, the house, garage and stuff. He's fixing up cars and things, like just little projects, and how I'm trying to show up to the world and what who I'm seeing in the world. So take what resonates when I talk about the 10th house. Majority of people, it will be their career, but it can be, you know, just the way you're kind of facing the world. Okay, I just want to talk about the nodes changing because it does impact you since the North Node moves out of your first house of self. So it moves out of Pisces into Aquarius, and the South Node leaves Virgo in your 7th house into Leo. And that's July 27th to March 26th, 2028, so for 2 years. And the North Node will move into your 12th house, which is Rags to Riches, and South Node in 6th house, Memories of a King. This is not... I just want to say the Rags to Riches, Memories of a King is not something that's astrologically fact. This is my interpretation from my research that I did of nodes about 4 years ago, because I know a lot about nodes and soulmates and past life energy. And I actually know this quite well because my sister has this as a nodal and I actually know this quite well because my sister has a North Node in Aquarius in her birth chart and a South Node. So she's having a nodal return. And if you have the opposite, you're having a reverse nodal return. And I always find this interesting because we always used to say that she would fall in shit and coming out smelling like roses, and that she probably had a past life living as a queen or something, because she honestly was like, oh, life of luxury, everything's perfect. But actually the North Node in Aquarius will get you to do the opposite. You have to work collectively. In the 12th house, you might feel like you're a servant. So the North Node in the 12th is all about meditation, it's a retreat, it's helping others, it's very self-sacrificial, but it's also quite lonely. So if we think about the North Node as a direction of travel that's spiritual, more of the purpose, we have to work with others, we have to learn to work with others. So this is more of a, I'm going to be a healer in order to help the collective, because Aquarius is so humanitarian, and you might also find innovation here as well. South Node will get you to release some energy in the 6th house. So this can be the balance that I'm trying to talk about when I say that, you know, you want to be able to give self-care and make sure that you're looking after yourself. But with these two houses that are so self-sacrificial, you have to find the right way to do it. Unfortunately, you are going to have to release, you know, working like a dog, trying to help others. You might also find that you have some triggers from the past about injury, especially if you've had a loved one that's passed away, unfortunately, because that energy can really come through and you just start getting feelings of it. I know a lot of people with the South Node transiting the 6th that had a lot of memories of their ancestors that came through randomly through meditation, but also dreaming about a grandparent, and they were like, I've not dreamed about this grandparent for ages, and it's almost every night. So you might feel a little bit more intuitive in that way, and especially in the 12th house, that's very psychic. Pisces is known for being psychic. I attribute my tarot reading and intuition to my Pisces moon because I think it makes you I don't know, it just gives you a different edge. And it's funny because I know someone with this Pisces moon who is so logical, and you know, I remember them saying something to me, they went, I just really wanted to listen to my intuition, and I just stood back like, they finally get it. They're using their power. It doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. It is quite self-sacrificial, but everybody will be different. So some people might be like, no, I'm going to be more intuitive and more hermit-like. And others are like, no, I have a gift I need to spread to the world here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the eclipses because these are going to be important. So February the 17th, we have a solar eclipse new moon in Aquarius in your 12th house. So this is taking place at 28 degrees, which is the 3rd decan of Aquarius, and that's ruled by the moon and Venus. So I've been saying for all zodiac signs, this is quite judgmental, but in the 12th house, it's actually quite critical. It's like one of those things where I'm like, not good enough, I haven't done good enough. It's associated with the 7 of Swords, which is a lot about betrayal, and it's quite sneaky and plotting. The reason why I have a little bit my shackles up about this is because the 12th house deals with hidden enemies. So this is like a blindside energy that you didn't see coming. That's like and it allows you to see what you haven't been able to see, but you have to be resourceful. It's almost like you have to think on your feet and outsmart your opponent, so outsmart this hidden enemy. And in a way, you have to play a bit of a psychological game, and you have to test things. You know, I mentioned about Saturn and Neptune in the second house can bring that narcissistic gaslighting energy. I think it's very possible that that is a recurring theme here. You almost have to test people and see, and you're like, I think there's something going on here, but I'm going to test them to see. And I think in the 12th house, that can be very difficult because it almost feels like, why me? Why am I going through this? Seven of Swords is very betrayal energy. If I could put it into one word, it would be deception. And when you have it in a house of hidden enemies, or, you know, that's very foggy, the 12th house is incredibly foggy, you can't see it. I would be very careful. I don't really tell people to be paranoid because I'm quite a trusting person. Like I live my life, you know, I don't want to live my life in fear, but I would be mindful around this time. Just be careful. Jupiter in Cancer in the 5th house is trying the North Node in Pisces in the 1st house, so your intuition is going to be sky high and you're going to know something is not quite right. You're going to want to almost take the risk to out this person or out this particular situation. And actually, I think with the North Node, it creates a really powerful opening for something to happen. And I think you're going to feel like quite confident that, yeah, you know, I actually think I'm holding my own here. The Sun and Moon in Aquarius in the 12th house is also squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house. So it is most definitely related to some kind of communication. This can be lies. And again, some narcissistic, you know, speech that's being spread. It gives me Chinese whispers almost. And I think with Uranus in Taurus, it can amplify that spread of volatility. So just be prepared for the sudden opportunity or shock that something might blindside you and it's not something that you can see straight up. Again, it's not to make you paranoid or worried. This is not anything to fearmonger. I'm not that kind of astrologer. It's just I'm looking at it and thinking I just be careful of it. Just be mindful. I want you guys to be okay. Like I'm looking out for you. So I'm giving you this information so you can be, you know, if you think something's not quite right, it probably isn't, you know. And then we have a lunar eclipse full moon in Virgo in your 7th house. This will definitely impact you. At 12 degrees, which is the second decan of Virgo. Very detailed and very particular. Funny enough, it's actually quite successful full moon, even though you probably won't think it is. So you have this energy from 2025, so this is not new. I can hear the fireworks again. Hopefully they're not too loud. This is quite successful energy and you've had this before. It's actually associated with the 9 of Pentacles, which is extremely positive. It's very vulnerable and open, and it's actually very, it's very, what's the word? Celebratory, maybe I would say. It's about really looking at what you've done and saying, wow, I've really earned this success. I have put so much work in and I deserve this. And I think this could be the culmination of finding a relationship, or maybe even saying, I'm really proud of how I've dealt with this relationship psychologically, because even though it's a full moon and it's karmic because it's a lunar eclipse, it doesn't have to be letting go of a relationship. It can be a, you know, pivot of a relationship or a change, and because it's so successful, I don't think you're necessarily going to feel bad about it. You might feel like very suspicious or be like, wow, this is too good to be true, I'm not sure what's going on. But what this will teach you is that I don't think you love yourself enough right now, and you need to do more of that. Again, that sounds so crazy. I remember when someone told me this, I got offended. I was like, I don't mean to sound offensive. It's more that this particular decan can make you feel like I just need to strive. Even though I've done really well, I got to work harder. There's always someone better out there for me. The grass is always greener. And sometimes it's like, you know what? My relationship's okay. Or there's someone better, but I need to be happy with what I have. And actually, maybe I'm my own soulmate. If you're not interested in love, that's also a commitment or a decision that you've made that you feel like, yeah, it took me a while to get to this decision, but now I have. It feels great. And the Sun and Mercury in Pisces in your 1st house, trining Jupiter in Cancer in your 5th as well, bringing emotional abundance with those 2 water signs. And you know, that 1st house of self feels very empathetic, and it's also very compassionate as well. So even if you were to have a breakup, again, I have to be so vague here because I don't have your chart. If I looked at your aspects, I could tell if it was breakup or not. But if you were to have a breakup, it would be a very, like, you know, amicable breakup. There we go. I was trying to say, what's the word? Amicable breakup, yeah. Jupiter in Cancer in the 5th, also sextiling Moon and Virgo in the 7th, which is also not a bad aspect and a good time to improve yourself and your relationships ultimately as well. And again, I'm seeing the fireworks as soon as I'm saying this, so I feel like it's more of like I'm celebrating my success and I know this is a good thing. So yeah. August 12th, we have a total solar eclipse, new moon in Leo. This is the first round of these eclipses in Aquarius and Leo, and this is in your 6th house, taking place at 20 degrees, which is the third decan of Leo, associated with the 7 of Wands, quite an angry, competitive decan. So in the 6th house, you could be fighting with a co-worker if that resonates, especially if you feel very under attack, because the 7 of Wands is like, I'm very defensive and I'm trying to stand up for myself. I am trying to, you know, not let others take advantage of me. I need to be very strong with my words. I need to have conviction in my words. And it almost feels like you're trying to, you know, state a claim on a territory and be like, this is mine. So a coworker could take a project from you, or they're trying to take a promotion from you, and you're like, oh no, I don't think so. I'm having the strong personality here. I also think that this can be related to feeling like bogged down by physical health problem as well, especially because around this time Jupiter will have already moved into Leo in the 6th house for you. So it can feel like physical health is starting to be impacted. But also I would say, again, linking to the nodal changes about your feelings about, you know, self-sacrificial nature and, you know, how you're feeling about helping others. And, you know, the nodes are still in Pisces and Virgo, but they're at 0 degrees, so they're about to change. That's why I'm mentioning it. I wouldn't mention if they were too far away, but they're 0 degrees. I think we're almost ready to go into that. So I think it will be that new start. Again, it's a supercharged new moon, and I would normally say that solar eclipses are actually quite nice when it comes to certain things, but because it's in Leo, which is, Leo rules the heart, so it takes everything personally, I just think it's a bit more dodgy. If you can see here as well, Mercury's in Leo, which takes everything to heart. Jupiter's expanding it in a 4-degree orb. And we also have a grand air trine. So we have Pluto in Aquarius trining Uranus in Gemini, which is then trining Venus in Libra, which is then trining Pluto in Aquarius. And we have 2 kites, one on its side, one upside down, which is very transformative in astrology. I mean, if you actually look at the specific aspects, there's not that many that are super dodgy. I mean, there's a couple of squares and a couple of opposites, but a lot of trines and sextiles. I think this is actually necessary. I also think you have to get to this place where you are standing up for yourself. And I've been saying this for all zodiac signs because I think the moon will impact us all quite in similar ways, but just in different areas, that we have to just be more like standing up for myself and knowing what to do. And I think that's also important because we actually also have a partial lunar eclipse, full moon in Pisces in your 1st house of self, August 28th. And that is going to be the final sort of leveling up for you. It's actually in the 1st decan of Pisces, taking place at 4 degrees, the fireworks again. And this is a little bit more disappointed, I must say. It's actually associated with the 8 of Raphael, or the 8 of Cups, which is walking away from something you thought would work out. You thought it would be successful, and it doesn't. So this is where you leave an old version of you behind, an old goal, like a big life goal, or maybe even a life purpose or life mission. An appearance change as well. And again, this is a deeply personal journey for you, more so than any other zodiac sign. It's not superficial because Pisces isn't superficial. It's very deep, it's very intense. It's already a full moon, so you're releasing, and then it's eclipse energy. It's very strong. So you definitely might feel quite disappointed here. I thought, like, this is a bit loud now. I'm like, stop being noisy. I don't want to have to keep editing, for God's sake. Like, already paying ridiculous amounts of money for this editing software, so I'm like, no, please, no. So yeah, it's not a very superficial moon. This is very karmic. Again, it's the ultimate release for you. After this, you're leveling up in beautiful ways. And what I like the most about this particular eclipse for leveling up is that after the next moon is actually a Virgo new moon in your 7th house, which is also a very recurring theme from earlier in the year. But again, that's the 9 of Pentacles, so very successful. And so I think that after you've released this energy with Pisces in your 1st house of self, you're able to just move on with new goals and new identity, new appearance. And I was really lucky to do some eclipse readings for some amazing people last year for the Pisces and Virgo eclipses, and so many people were talking about, I'm on the precipice of something amazing, but I don't know how to get there. And I keep telling them, you're doing amazing, but you'll really see the resolution of it next year. It's almost like I see the 10 of Wands in my mind, and you're cutting out something that you thought was going to work out. And funny enough, I speak from experience as a Pisces moon here, because I actually, when I went to a tarot reader years ago, the card that I got given was the 8 of Raphael, the 8 of Cups, and I also pulled it yesterday, and I know what I need to walk away from. So this will be interesting if I have to revisit that energy. I know it won't be in my first house of self, it will be in my third. But I do think it's quite interesting that I'm like, yeah, as a Pisces moon, I already know what this is going to be like. And the nodes have changed as well. So the North Node is not in your first house. It's in Aquarius now, and the South Node is in Leo. So there's some different energy. Mars in Cancer as well, which is a little bit weepy. So let yourself cry, let it all out. If you actually look at the aspects, it's not that bad at all. Saturn in Aries is opposite Venus in Libra. So there is some energy with intimacy and maybe even your self-worth and esteem. But I think ultimately you're doing what you need to do for you. It really feels like that, you know, the return to equilibrium in a film where the main character knows what they have to do, and it's a little bit hard, but ultimately, and very fated and karmic, but ultimately we're moving on from it. So I think the Virgo and Pisces eclipses will really affect you as they did in 2025. And I will not lie and say they're going to be good for you. I think if you really want a leveling up and a transformation, they're good, but they're always going to be a little bit difficult. And especially with these Aquarius Leo eclipses as well added on, which are a little bit more angry and a bit more volatile, especially in something like Leo, which is very dramatic, and Aquarius, which is, you know, it's quite intelligent and it's a bit Queen's Gambit. It can really outmove you. I think there's a lot of energy in the mix. But I don't like to say that, you know, years are better than others. I sometimes say, yes, you're going to have more opportunity for this year, which is fantastic. You know, like I said, Jupiter still in Cancer for the first half of the year, which gives you more prospects for fun, dating, but also exploring sensuality, having children, if that's something you want to do. And then Jupiter in the 6th house will also allow you to help more people, work with more people, could even expand, you know, more holistic wellness and tapping into self-care, and ultimately getting a better routine as well. Like I have a really good routine on my side now, and I feel, you know, like I have my shit together basically. So I don't think it's a necessarily bad year. I also think that, you know, Chiron being in Aries, moving into Taurus in the 3rd as well, will allow you to understand why you can't speak your truth about certain things, and allow you to be more authentic as well. So I hope you really enjoyed that reading, Pisces, and I generally hope you have a fantastic new year. Astrology is just opportunities, so it's not life or death. You still have free will, and those fireworks are going again. And I think I'm going to go enjoy them. So I hope you have a fantastic 2026. Please comment down below what you are looking forward to. Do you have any goals that you'd like to share? Any successes that you want to put out there that we can help hype you up on? And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.